Hello everybody, it's Randy Hilarski here, coming at you from beautiful Panama City, Panama. Today, I want to do a rooftop musing about the possible price of PulseChain at launch. Everyone's been asking me this, Randy, what do you think the price is going to be? And I think it's going to melt faces. So, I've got a story I want to tell. It dates back to 2017, September. It's about a guy named Justin Sun. And Justin Sun launched a project called Tron. Tron was a layer 1 solution, very similar to PulseChain. And it was a ghost chain, meaning it had nothing on it. It was just a copy of Ethereum. So all he did was go into GitLab, copy it, and he marketed it. And when Tron launched, it did some spectacular moves. At their ICO, it was 0.0015. That was the cost of the ICO. It was, people were, I wasn't excited, so I didn't participate. It wasn't of interest to me. I didn't really like Justin Sun. I said, oh, who's this young guy, this new kid on the crypto block, and he thinks he's going to copy Ethereum and be successful. And then a couple months passed, ICO had already passed, and I met this young man, 18 years old, here in Panama. I met him at the Bitcoin embassy that we used to have. And we were chit-chatting. He's like, hey, Randy, you know how I could live here? I'm like, yeah, I would like to know. I said, is your family wealthy, or how could you be living in Panama? And he said that he invested in the Tron ICO. Like, what do you mean? Why? What did Tron do? So he invested and he did the 0.0015. And that was September, first week of September. And I'll post the chart here for you. It went all the way up to 26 cents. Now, for my math whizzes out there, that's 117x. A little over 4 months, he got 117x. And he was able to sell his Tron at right near the top and turned his $500 into 50K. And that gave him the capability of living here in Panama for almost 2 years. He worked for me and he worked for a couple of my friends, so he had other income. But the kid made a very good move. He got lucky, because normally an ICO doesn't do that. But my warning is, for those of you who think that PulseChain can't do what Tron did. Now, I'm going to lay out my reasons why I think PulseChain is going to do as good or even better than Tron in the first 90 days of launch. PulseChain, the SAC, was in August of last year, August of 2021. It is now March of 2022, and I think tomorrow will be April. It's going to be almost 9 to 10 months before PulseChain launches. The FOMO for PulseChain is real, folks. People want to own PulseChain. People know that PulseChain is going to take the weight off the Ethereum network and help bring the fees down. People know that they're going to be able to participate in smart contracts like Hex, for fractions of a penny. And I have to pay $15, $20, $100 to stake something, or almost $1,000 to unstake, because the Ethereum fees are through the roof. People are tired. PulseChain, the SAC phase, if you were in day one, I think it was 0.0001. That's pretty low. What happens if this thing goes out the gate 90 days and does a quick 100x? What if it does 100x in the first day? I'm not saying it's going to, but it could. Let me tell you some scenarios here. A lot of people who got into PulseX, the PulseX SAC, the reason why they did it is because they want to switch it over and turn it into PulseChain when PulseChain launches. So on day one, you're going to see a bunch of folks swapping PulseX for PulseChain on the PulseX DEX. That's a mouthful, sorry. So I've heard people say that they're going to swap PulseX for PulseChain. I've heard people say they're going to swap PulseX for PHEX. Whatever you want to do, you do, right? But PulseChain, I think, is going to outperform everything, especially for the first month, maybe the first weeks. It's going to be very exciting times for those of you guys who own PulseChain. Now, in my case, what's Randy doing? Typically, back in the days of the ICO, I would play around in the first day and trade in and out, and try to increase my bag. When the dumpers come in, I try to buy more. When it did a serious spike up, I would try to sell some. But I made a mistake. I didn't stack enough for PulseChain. In hindsight, it's not too much of a mistake, because the reason why I didn't do it is because I didn't want to sacrifice my Hex. And Hex is doing just fine. I'm going to get a copy of my Hex on PulseChain. So don't cry for Randy. Randy's fine. But because I don't feel like I got enough PulseChain, the only thing I'm going to be doing is buying more if the price dips. I'm sorry, I don't think it's going to. If you guys are hoping that there's going to be a huge dip in PulseChain on day one or the first couple weeks, it's probably not going to happen. So I think that the FOMO is so real in PulseChain that we're going to see things we've never seen in crypto before. And we also know that the founder, Richard Hart, doesn't play games. He knows how to market the hell out of a project. And he knows that the only thing that people care about is the price going up. I used to care a ton about the tech. But I found that the communities just don't give a shit. And because Ethereum has taken so long to go to proof of stake, PulseChain is going to make that first move. And we all know what first move means. First mover advantage. And PulseChain has the first mover advantage. We got big money behind PulseChain. And it's proof of stake. It's just Ethereum 2.0 before Ethereum 2.0 launches. So if I were you, I would start learning about PulseX Exchange. I would learn how to be a liquidity provider. I would learn how to get your PRC20s and sell those for PulseChain on day 1, day 2, day 3, whatever, if you can. And prepare for the Pulse launch. Educate. You got to learn, guys. You cannot just sit back and watch videos and hope that you know what you're going to do on the first day. No, you have to go into that test net and play with it and learn how to use PulseX and PulseChain right now. Because if you think you're going to play with the big boys and you don't know what you're doing, that's a recipe to get wrecked. So I can't wait for PulseChain to launch. It is going to be the most exciting probably month of my crypto career. I've been around a long time. January 2014 was when we first bought our first couple Bitcoin. So I'll see you guys there. I'll keep you updated if my sentiments change. But right now, my speculation, what I think is going to happen is we'll probably have 100x in the first 90 days of PulseChain. Tron had 117x. Why can't we beat Tron? Come on, let's do it. All right. Cheers from Panama.